Much of what we reported on locally in the last year was tragic, including wildfires and gun violence.
But it wasn't all bad. There are plenty of examples of nature's beauty and community members caring for one another.
Here are the biggest Northland stories we covered in 2025.
This is Northern News Now.
Good evening, I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Dan Wolf. Thanks for joining us.
In mid-March, a dramatic fall from grace. Grand Rapids State Senator Justin Eichhorn caught in an undercover sex sting in the Twin Cities. The 40-year-old Republican allegedly tried meeting up with who he thought was a 17-year-old girl, but was actually a police officer.
But I don't give a crap what occupation you have. If you come here and mess with kids, you're going to jail.
He resigned his Senate seat, pleaded not guilty to federal charges, and remains in a Duluth halfway house as his case moves through federal court. In early May, a shocking crime in the town of Superior. A 13-year-old boy fired a rifle several times at sheriff's deputies. Authorities say Carson Peterson was at his grandmother's home when he had a mental health episode and opened fire on responding officers, nearly striking them. Amazingly, officers never returned fire and ultimately managed to take the boy into custody. The case would shine a spotlight on the lack of child mental health care resources in the Northland. It also generated controversy as a judge recently ruled to keep Peterson's case in adult court. Just days after the Peterson shooting, the weather became record warm and windy, helping fuel the most impactful Northland story of 2025. On the 11th, an unattended campfire near Brimson spread to the forest and ultimately exploded at 12,000 acres, forcing hundreds to flee their homes and cabins.
It is nerve-wracking. I meant, this is our world. This is what we have.
Meanwhile, just northwest of there, another fire sparked along a highway, ballooning to 16,000 acres. Those two and a third wildfire near Cotton destroyed more than 150 structures in a matter of days.
I told him this isn't my place. That's not my house. There wasn't a house there. There's shells of vehicles.
A month later, the fires were out, and amazingly, no one was hurt. Then came community love and support. Charity concerts and neighbors helping neighbors pick up the pieces. As for the investigations, the fires were determined to be human-caused, with a Duluth man cited for starting a campfire and walking away.
We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota.
We woke up to news that was hard to fathom on June 14th. Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark shot dead in their own home. Senator John Hoffman and his wife also gunned down in their home, and the manhunt for Vance Belter was on.
There's a $50,000 reward offered by the FBI.
Belter had a hit list of Democratic lawmakers, which sent law enforcement scrambling to each of their homes, including that of Duluth Senator Jen McEwen. After 43 hours, Belter was found in a field and arrested, charged with first-degree premeditated murder. Meanwhile, the Hortmans would lie in state at the Capitol and then be laid to rest. Belter will appear before a judge in February with a trial date not yet set.
We've got team coverage on this breaking story tonight with
In mid-July, a house fire called just north of Duluth quickly escalated into a life-or-death situation for first responders. A firefighter arrived to find 3 homes on fire, then was shot at by one of the home's owners. A responding deputy was also fired upon. Turns out 57-year-old Adam Wolf sprayed gasoline on his and his neighbors' homes, setting them all on fire, and then opened fire on responders.
I was scared. I was scared for my life, and I was scared for my sister's life.
5 officers returned fire, killing Wolf. Traps were later found all over Wolf's property, aimed at hurting first responders. To say plans for a building the size of U.S. Bank Stadium in Hermantown would cause a stir this fall would be a massive understatement. Word of a data center near Morris Thomas Road and Midway Road sparked protests, lawsuits, and the creation of an opposition group. Word of county leaders signing NDAs involving the project prompted even greater outrage.
Enraged at times, because this is something that's going on that we have no power to stop.
While some have touted the positive financial impact a data center this size would have on the region, it faces stiff headwinds in the form of community opposition and environmental groups. A story that loomed large in the latter half of 2025, sure to do so next year as well. On November 10th, time stood still across the region as a bell chimed 29 times for the lives lost in the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. This was the 50th anniversary of the Lake Superior tragedy as thousands showed up at the annual Split Rock Lighthouse Memorial Ceremony. From the gales of November to the lights of November, this show in the sky had Northlanders oohing and awing on the night of November 12th. The Auroras put on one of the most spectacular shows in decades, visible even in the heart of Duluth.
This was a crime of selfishness.
In early December, state investigators announced the arrest of Bryce Campbell. After a lengthy investigation of the Lutsen Lodge fire, Campbell owned the resort, and authorities claim he burned it to the ground while in massive debt.
Like, it still kind of like gives me chills, like burning such an amazing structure up here. Like, it'd be like burning down Glensheen.
Campbell faces arson and insurance fraud charges and is due in court in March. Gunfire shook the entire Twin Ports community on the morning of December 7th. A Superior police officer tried making a traffic stop when Dylan Wallace allegedly got out of the vehicle, shot an officer, was hit by return fire, and then drove his van into Superior Middle School.
And I was absolutely taken aback by that officer's bravery, their composure, and the way they responded to really sustained and accurate gunfire on their squad car while they were sitting in it.
That wounded Superior officer was treated and released from the hospital. After spending hours holed up in the school, Wallace was arrested. He'll go before a judge in late January. And we covered each of those stories extensively with multiple reports on each. You can find them all by downloading the Northern News Now app.